my name is Jo and I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the UK. Today I'm going to show you how I've made this card. Now this was an original design by Sam from Mixed Up Craft, who does some amazing work. She had originally designed this for a square card, but I wanted to change it slightly so that it fitted our traditional C6 card, which we use a lot here in the UK. So the front obviously is quite self-explanatory, although I will go through that briefly with you. But when you open the card up, it presents you with this little present, which I thought was a really lovely idea, something a little bit different, something you're not necessarily expecting, I would say. So I hope you like it. I'm going to show you how I've made that. So first of all, you're going to need to take a card base. As I say, this is our traditional C6 size card base. I've got two layers. So first of all, I've got my Mossy Meadow layer, which measures 9.5 by 13.85 centimetres. So that's a centimetre smaller than the card itself. And then I've got a DSP layer, which is 9 centimetres by 13.35 centimetres. I then took 3 further layers. So this Mossy Meadow strip measures 9 centimetres by 4.5 centimetres. A DSP strip, which measures 9 centimetres by 4 centimetres. And the Whisper White layer measures 9 centimetres by 2.5 centimetres. So I'm just going to put all these together and then I'll show you how it comes together itself. Okay, so I've matted and layered all my pieces together and I've just stuck them onto my card front. I'm now quickly just going to stamp my greeting, and I'm using Early Espresso for this. It's just slightly lighter than the black, and it picks up the colours nicely in the branches. So just give that a second to dry. Now I cut this flower from another piece of this lovely DSP, which is part of the Magnolia suite, and I'm just going to attach these using 3D foam. But first of all, now I can see that's dry, I'm just going to stick that onto my card front. I kept the front quite simple because obviously all the workings are inside really, so I've kept that quite simple. I'm just going to attach my flower. So that's quite straightforward. That's our front now completed. So I'm just going to put that to one side. We'll go back to that in a moment. The next piece I want to make is actually to make this part the box part. So if I show you how to do that. Okay, so we need 2 pieces to make our box. So this one is 11 centimetres by 6.5 centimetres. Now we need to score this on the landscape edge at 5.5 centimetres. And I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and I want to score at 1 centimetre. Okay, and then you're going to do a second piece which measures 6.5 centimetres square, and again I'm going to score at 1 centimetre. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and again score at 1 centimetre. But I also need to score across the diagonal, so you want to start at the diagonal that has the little square. I'm just going to line it up in my trimmer. Going to score across there, and then I also need to remove part, but I'm going to use my guillotine for this. So if you can see, this is the square. So you've got this little square that you've created in the corner with your score line across here, and what we want to do is we want to cut it from this first score line to this score line over here. I'm just going to pop it in my trimmer. Sorry, my guillotine. Just line it up and then you can discard that piece, you don't need that. Okay, so now we've done that, we're just going to remove some of the pieces from the edges. So I'm going to cut off that corner to start with, and the opposite corner. And I also want to cut this corner here, but with an extra piece off the edge. And what I like to do is just to cut it straight across. Okay, so that's that one. And then this one, we're going to cut off the two outside edges slightly, and then we're going to remove a piece from the center. Okay, so now I'm going to just burnish the parts that I've scored, and these pieces actually come to the front, so you want to bring them towards you. Okay, so it looks like that. And then this one, we're just going to score the middle line. I want you to score in both directions. So we burnish in both directions, I should say. And then fold those to the inside. So that will look like that. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to do is just add some glue to one of these pieces here. And I'm going to line up this edge, trying to make sure that this score line meets up with this one perfectly, and that will give us a nice right angle. And then I'm going to glue this opposite edge. And again, just take your time just to line it up, make sure it fits nicely. Okay, then you can just give it a quick squeeze. So there we go. So that's actually going to be our gift box that's going to fit inside our card. So we can now take our card, and if you want to, you can decorate it at this point, or you can do it afterwards. It's entirely up to you. I'll show you how the decoration's done at the end. So what we're going to do is we want to stick this into our card. So this is obviously the top, and this center score line needs to line up with the center of our card here. So just eyeball it to start with, just to give you an idea of where it's going to sit. And I want you to bring it down just a couple of millimeters really from the top, no more. And you don't want to open it too much because that will distort your box. So try and get your box as square as you can. And then we're going to glue it into place. Okay, so I'm just going to add some glue to the feet of my box. Just going to position it carefully. So you want to open it so it sits upright, but not so it distorts it. And then when you're happy it's in place, just press down, make sure they're glued down nicely. Okay, so that's that. So now we're going to do the white sections that sit inside that. 2 pieces Whisper White cardstock, and they're to measure 14.35 centimetres by 10 centimetres, and they're going to go either side here. Now obviously we need to remove this corner, so yours might be slightly different to mine. It just depends on where you've stuck this part of your box and where your edges are. So what we need to do is we just need to do some measurements. Now I'm going to measure first of all down to there, and I can see that that is 11 centimetres down. Okay, so that's at that point I'm going to be cutting. So on my, if I do my right hand side piece first, I'm actually going to measure it at 10.9 centimetres just to give me that little millimetre playroom. Okay, so that's my first line. I'm then going to measure from the corner of my box to the edge of my card, and that is currently 6.4. Now, because these are slightly smaller, we need to remove 2.5 millimeters from that measurement. So if I came in 2.5, I'd be at 6.1. Okay, so that distance between there and there is 6.1 on my actual card. So what I'm going to do is measure 6.1 and just mark a little pencil line. And then if I just draw those so that you can visually see what I've done. So this is my corner piece I'm going to remove, and that is then going to sit in there. So if I just cut that off. Okay, so that should now sit perfectly with the little border that I've given it around the edge like that. Okay, now if you're lucky, if you flip it over, you might find that it fits the other side perfectly too, which thankfully it does. So I'm now going to use this one as my template. In fact, I'm going to use that one for my left because then it's got no pencil marks on it. And I'm just going to line those up and trim the corner off my second one. Okay, so that's now going to be my left one, and this one is my right one. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some decoration to these pages and then stick them down. So I'll give you the quick measurements. So we need 2 pieces of the floral DSP, and that measures 2 centimetres by 14.35 centimetres. And then I've got 2 little green strips, which is actually the opposite sides of that, and they're just 0.5 centimetres wide, and again 14.35 centimetres in that direction. Okay, so we're just going to glue those down and glue them onto our card. So I will do that now. So I'm quickly just gluing this second piece down here. You can obviously decorate these how you wish to do them. Okay, so that's the inside of our card. So now we're just going to move on to decorating our box. Now you're going to need 3 further pieces of DSP, and these are going to measure 5 centimetres square. So we're first of all going to stick a couple onto here, and then this one again needs to be cut. So I'm going to cut that first. So that's going to go on top. Now, to make this a little bit simpler, I'm actually going to stick my strips on first. So what I've done is I've cut 6 strips which measure 5 centimetres by ½ centimetre. Okay, so first of all I'm going to stick a cross on one of my pieces. It's a little bit fiddly, this piece, but okay. So once I'm happy with that, I can then glue that onto my gift box. So you can see I've just glued that onto my gift box there. I'm just going to repeat with the second square. So that's now in place. Now this one is slightly different because you need to ensure that first of all it is cutting across, matching your lines here, but also you don't want it to go across the center fold. So we do actually need to fold this in half. Now it's light enough that we can actually just use our fingers just to fold it in half. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stick that onto the top of my box now. I'm just going to make that edge level with the edge of the box. That's it. Okay, so I'm just going to encourage that just to fold on it itself, just a little bit, just so it starts to sort of find its own way. Now, you will find that sometimes the paper just pops up a little bit. Just gently encourage it and it will glue down eventually. Okay, so now I'm going to stick these pieces on. So as I say, I need to line it up with my edge, but I need to also ensure that it doesn't hit that score line. So depending on where you've stuck your strips, you will probably need to make 2 little cuts. So I can see I need to go across that way, but then equally I'm going to cut across that way. But what I'm going to do is glue this one down first. So it's stuck across like that, just ensuring it only comes up to that score line. Now don't worry if you get a little gap here, because that's where our bow's going to sit, so it doesn't matter if it's slightly over. So again, I'm just going to line it up with my side piece. I can see where my score line is roughly. Some glue on the back and glue it in place. And you should create a nice sort of square shape there. As I say, don't worry if these don't line up quite right, because that your bow's going to be over the top of that in a moment. So now I'm just going to trim those 2 bare edges off. Okay, so that's actually your box completed, and I'm just going to add a ribbon bow to it. Make sure your bow is nice and tight. I'm just going to trim my ends. So now I want to stick this bow onto my box, but if I stuck it dead on the center here, it wouldn't fold in on itself. So what you need to do is you need to stick your bow to one side on this piece here. So if I quickly grab a glue dot. So if I don't know if you can see, so right in the middle, I've stuck my glue dot just to the right hand side there, so that when I stick it down, it's actually going to be stuck on this panel and not there. So it will fold in on itself. Okay, so once that's done, that's pretty much your card complete. So once I close that up, you want to try and encourage that crease to go inside on itself like that. The previous one I made wanted to go the other way, so in fact I allowed it to go the other way because it just sat better. So whichever way yours is going to go, obviously let it find its own way. So there we go. That's the gift box pop-up card. I hope you like it and I hope you enjoy making it, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.